tell us, do you guys, the economists, do you know what's going to happen? There's a lot of predictions that are going on. Yeah, business is going to go back on track. We're going to see everything just rejuvenating again. It's all going to be the same. Is that really the case, or should we expect something else?
It is very seldom that economists are right. Basically, most of the predictions
Next
are
guest,
usually,
please. No, okay.
most of the economist predictions are usually optimistic because they come from interest, and they may be right for the short term, but no one actually has a crystal ball which is able to predict really what's going on, and everything right now is very uncertain. And I think just recently, I think today or yesterday, the International Monetary Fund has issued an updated vision about global economy. And as usual, they are fairly pessimistic about 2020, which is actually already lost, I think. It's very clear. But they are highly optimistic about 2021. They say right now, I think the predictions are that 2020 is going to be negative growth of around 3% worldwide, with the US -5 and Israel -6 or something like that. But regarding 2021, it's like a boom, really a booming economy, up 4% or 3.5%. So economists are always optimistic.
Wait. And you say, before you get all arithmetic on us with all your numbers, just tell me this: when you say economists are optimistic because they have an interest, is this true that, like, when Trump or when presidents, world leaders and so on, when they talk positively about the economy, it creates a positive economy? They like speak it into existence. Is this concept for real? And that's part of the reason?
I think it does has a certain impact. If you watch your leaders, your elected leaders, optimistic, and that usually, they say, put your money where your mouth is. So if the leader is optimistic, it means actually that he's going to do his best to create the reality he's speaking about. That is why we see central banks, and this is why we see governments around the world doing their absolutely best with unprecedented means to be able to create a positive economic reality. Even though we have to admit that their impact is actually pretty limited if you look at it like from a historical perspective.
Okay, go ahead, Seth.
What are the things that will determine a good financial future? And I'm also not measuring it in terms of we need to sell more crap than we sold yesterday, but in general, that everybody can if somebody's working 2 jobs but doesn't have enough to pay the bills, I don't consider that healthy financial life. But if someone's working, able to pay their bills, have some time for themselves to be with their family, to take care of their health and things like that, I would consider that, much more in harmony and a better situation. What are the things that need to happen financially? I guess on a macro view and also on a micro view, in order to move into, forget about what these analysts said. In your opinion, what are the kind of things that need to happen so that we can, what does the world look like? A healthy financial world look like? Because, millions of cars burning fuel sitting in rush hour traffic, 5 lanes both ways in LA or 5 lanes both ways in New York in traffic, that's good for the GDP. Lots of oil's being burned. Everybody's filling their tanks, but I don't think that's what we're talking about so much. So how can we do it in a way that's healthy, sustainable, good for human connection?
Well, basically, let's differentiate between Wall Street and Main Street. Let's leave aside the stock exchange and the financial industry and investments. Those are, for many years, have been artificial. They have created their own crisis and their own bailouts. Let's talk about the real economy, the real people. I think this is what you probably meant, Seth. So if we talk about human life and the way we live right now, I think consumerism and the education we have been exposed to since we were born and throughout our infantry and adulthood is very centered around making money, around not just making ends meet, but making as much as we can and spending as much as we can and living the American dream. And this has been an offset. I think we have gone too far, and the damages are much worse or much exceed the advantages. And therefore, if you look at the future and you're looking for a more balanced future, I think eventually people will have to understand that they don't buy their happiness. They need to buy their livelihood to make ends meet. But all the rest of the energy they're spending right now, because they are addicted to consumerism and to fame and to all kinds of values that are, the society is actually inflicting on them. So we need to change the values. We need to have a new social agreement between us, which sets the values, updates already, restarts the values themselves.
Oh, okay, but this is exactly the point. Let me be a little dramatic here, okay? When you say the economists are saying it's going to be bad, but then it's going to be better, what do they mean then by better? If we were in a situation of, depletion of natural resources and exploiting the planet in a way that did not bring balance, and, I read some statistics that in the Western world, like 80% of the people weren't happy with their jobs, and job represents like 10-12 hours of a person's day in the modern world. So most of your life, your 80% of the people are not happy with most of their lives. So when the economists are saying, or the financial predictors are saying it's gonna be better, is that what they mean? But it's gonna get better? Is what is in the economic mindset? What is considered, going back to normal, or going 2021 is going to be better? In what sense?
The Holy Grail is growth. This is the Holy Grail, and this was everything. It's worth of us working 3 jobs, making minimum wage of $7 or $8 an hour. It's worth everything. The sacrifices we're making, each of us on a daily basis. This is like the Holy Grail. So economists are expecting renewal of growth, and of course we have to remember who actually benefits from the growth. This is not like a trickle-down economics. This model doesn't work. So actually, only a minority of us are enjoying the fruits of the growth, and the rest of us just hardship and hard work.
Okay. All right.
Asaf, I got a question. You mind if I jump in, Ronen? If we measure success differently, then we may say something else is successful. For example, if everybody has food and everybody has a place to live and everybody has some extra, and of course, if somebody wants to figure out some business and make more, that's available. We're in an economy, everything is growing, people can do it. We're in a world, resources are available. But if a regular person, any person, doesn't have some desire that they need to take over the world to be a gazillionaire, but they want to be able to have a home, have food, have time to exercise, have time to be with their friends, maybe go on a vacation, maybe go, snorkeling somewhere nice once a year. Something. Is it possible to change the way we measure? Is that even a possibility for these leaders, or would the leaders is it possible somehow in this mindset to only measure by more? Because what Asaf said, the more depressed we were and the more, fast food we ate, the better it was for the economy. So basically, the more we killed ourselves
and the planet,
better it was for the planet, the better it was for the economy. So it's insane, Ronen. It's insane to measure like that.
And is anyone thinking about new measurements now in light of what's happening, with the paralysis of the current economy?
Listen, there are various new voices that are basically saying, listen, we have bowed to the wrong Holy Grail. The purpose is being happy, and happiness is not the direct result of wealth or accumulating of properties, but actually of human relations. And we all know it basically just from expressing our love to the dear ones and families and close friends of us. The joy we get from that is much higher than buying something new at the mall or on Amazon. But eventually, even though there are more and more voices that are very explicit and they're saying this is the right method set of actually judging and determine how we live, and not just by the current system, but those are relatively negligible. The establishment is very strong, the elites are very strong, and right now I don't see any rethinking, real rethinking of the whole method. The expectation is just, getting back to normal. It may take a little bit longer than we expected, but we hope to get back to normal. Normal is the old way.
Okay. Let me throw in another subtopic here. A lot of people now are considering, questioning, contemplating, and people, I mean governments, UBI, Universal Basic Income of some sort. I read somewhere that in Spain, that's it. They decided that from now on, there's going to be a move towards Universal Basic Income, not just for the coronavirus era, but forever. I know that I think in Finland there was an experiment with that with some positive results. There's even Trump bucks in the US, which is a form of some sort of and you see this entering our world.
You can also add Andrew Yang in the Democratic primaries. He ran his platform included like dividend, right? Something similar to Universal Basic Income. Listen, Universal Basic Income is not a new idea, but the current circumstances of very high and unexpected unemployment creates the need to enable people to live, to hang by, to hold on until something is stabilized. So as far as the need exists. Now, basically, Spain cannot afford it, and Finland actually halted the experiment because it was done in the wrong way and a little bit negative results, and so therefore, even though there are 70 pilots around the world with societies and states and villages and cities which are experimenting in Universal Basic Income, the truth comes that eventually the basic disagreement is how are we going to finance it. I mean, Universal Basic Income is going to be necessary. That's what Elon Musk and others are saying. But how are we going to finance it? This is like a very tough deal.
Let me ask a question from a layman's perspective when it comes to economics. When the Trump administration just signed, what was it, Seth? How much was it? 20 trillion?
No, 2 trillion.
2 trillion. Sorry, I'm sorry. But still, it's with a T. It's trillion. That's like what? 1,000 billion, right? Like every trillion is 1,000 billion. Is that correct? That's my math. My math at least understands that. Okay, where does that 2 trillion come from? Explain to me.
It's like a monopoly money. What do you mean? I mean, they're printing the money.
So if it's monopoly money, and if they can create the trillions like this, so there's definitely enough. When we say they can't afford it, as soon as they need to afford it for some reason, they print it, and some